Hello everyone, back with another video. Today I will be doing another response video because, well, pe people love these. That was a joke, by the way. I will be responding to one of the YouTubers I previously responded to on his channel, Weasel Batches. I responded to his Birds of Prey video, and in today's video I'm going to be responding to his video on Avengers Endgame and how it apparently ruined Thanos. Now, I feel like I need to get this across. I am not an MCU fanboy, nor am I someone who absolutely adores Endgame. I think Endgame is a good movie, but nothing more. And the MCU is overall, they're pretty inconsistent with their quality of the films, because sometimes they can be really good, really bad, and really, really meh. I think MCU has some of the highest highs in all of comic book movies, and I will fight you on that, such as Winter Soldier, and yes, even Civil War. Search your feelings, you know it to be true. However, some of the MCU's lows, man, are really shitty, such as Thor the Dark World and Captain Marvel are just shit. Now, I feel I should clarify this. I'm going to be including the full video in this response, obviously, even the beginning intro, because I want to include full context. Anyway, let's get into this video.
War, in my opinion, is a damn near perfect movie. It has a great story, pacing, development, and characters. And this was one of the first times we as an audience got a very memorable villain for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, like I've said in my other videos, Loki, Ultron, Zemo, and Ego are all really good villains, but none of them are really on the same level as Thanos to me. He was more fleshed out than Loki and more intimidating than Ultron. He has the best character traits of the MCU villains. Unfortunately, this is only seen in Infinity War. Now,
Oh, okay, I'll bite. Do tell. I would argue Thanos was much more intimidating in this film, and as for him being fleshed out, well, it's not like he could be fleshed out. He was the main character of Avengers Infinity War. He wasn't in here. Avengers Infinity War was about Thanos. This film is about the heroes.
Endgame, we get a tiny bit of Infinity War Thanos at the beginning of the movie. He's calm, collective, and understands why the Avengers are upset with him. He sacrificed his physical body in order to destroy the stones so others could avoid temptation. He understands there are others out there who are willing to use the stones for selfish and evil purposes. That is what made Thanos interesting. He believes he's a good guy. And his mannerisms and monologues help enhance the idea that Thanos might be correct, so the audience could at least understand his motivations.
I'm sorry, but if you believe that he is right, then you're a fucking idiot. They give you enough to sympathize with him and understand his motivations, but if you believe that he's genuinely in the right, then you are a moron.
In Infinity War, Thanos only killed and tortured people when it was absolutely necessary. However, in Endgame, Thanos just seems like another generic villain.
I will bring this up later in the video, but Thanos, the reason he's so much more violent is for a number of reasons, but the main one is the fact that Thanos doesn't have the gauntlet yet. He doesn't have a way to control the stones. This is at the point in the story of his life where he is massacring people, much like we saw in the flashback of Avengers Infinity War when he wiped out half of Gamora's planet. He doesn't have the gauntlet at this point because he either got in 2015 of Avengers Age of Ultron the post-credit scene, or he got it somewhere between Ragnarok and Infinity War. It's unclear the timeline, but I don't know. And they established that this Thanos from 2014 is much more violent because of the fact that the first time we see him, he's actually wiping blood off of his sword. Not to mention the fact that this film has to remain consistent with Guardians of the Galaxy, and in Guardians of the Galaxy, Thanos was shown to be a much more violent villain, and he was willing to massacre people. As we saw when we was communicating with Ronan, he seemed much more like your typical villain. Also because this film basically takes place during the events of Guardians of the Galaxy, so it has to remain consistent with that movie. And in that movie, we saw that he was much more generic.
And really, it all comes down to one line of dialogue he had in the movie. Alright, so the 2014 Thanos realizes his plan to snap half of humanity away will not work out, so he decides to destroy all of humanity as a whole and create a perfect world out of the Infinity Stones. Not a bad replacement for his motivations, but the execution of this idea is very out of character for Thanos. When Thanos goes to carry out his plan and fights Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America, he starts to struggle a bit. He still decimates all three of them, but apparently this is the greatest amount of resistance he's ever faced. I know those three superheroes are strong, but Thanos didn't look like he was struggling that much against them. He clearly displayed he was much more superior. Every time he got hit, he just came back up, so I don't see why he was bitching and moaning afterwards.
Thanos was struggling against Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor. But have you ever thought about why? Thor is a god, the god of thunder, and he has basically two Mjolnirs, which are both incredibly powerful, and Stormbreaker is more powerful than that. Iron Man has upgraded technology since the last time they fought him, and Captain America is capable of wielding Mjolnir. Also, something I completely gloss over and so many people stupidly do is the fact that Thanos doesn't have the gauntlet in this. Thanos doesn't have the Infinity Gauntlet. He has armor and a sword, but is that really better than the Infinity Gauntlet? Because you tell me. And yes, by the way, Thanos was indeed struggling to fight against them.
And after Thanos pretty much won, he says the piece of dialogue that deteriorates his character. In all my years of conquest, violent slaughter, it was never personal, but I'll tell you now, what I'm about to do to your stubborn, annoying little planet, I'm gonna enjoy it. Very, very much.
Something you completely gloss over is the opening conversation before they had their fight, where he said he was going to create a grateful universe. Because he wanted to create a grateful universe, because this universe, in his eyes, was ungrateful.
This is a ridiculous and insulting line, especially with the context behind it.
Oh, you don't get to complain about context, especially since you completely removed the context from the fight, considering the fact that you didn't talk about the beginning, where he talked about his little speech of how that he was going to create a grateful universe.
But what's worse about it is that it's completely out of character. Remember when Thanos fought the Avengers on planet Titan? He struggled much more against those guys, and yet he didn't say something stupid like, I'm gonna take personal pleasure killing you all, or some stupid generic ass shit like that.
Again, Thanos was struggling against Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor, and he didn't have the gauntlet. He had a sword instead. Also, again, this Thanos is much more violent, as the first time we see him, he is wiping blood off of his sword. Because it has to remain consistent with Guardians of the Galaxy and what we saw in that film.
In Infinity War, he showed amusement and respect because he understands their motivations. He just believes his motives are right. I mean, Iron Man struggled immensely and kept fighting against Thanos, and this led Thanos to flat out say he respects Tony because he understands that they're fighting for what they believe is right as well. But here he's being a little bitch. Just because the Avengers are defending their planet, this pisses off Thanos. Like,
He isn't simply pissed off because of the fact that, they're making him struggle. No, he's pissed off because of the fact that they messed up his destiny. He accomplished his destiny and then they fucked it up. That's why he's pissed.
once he actually got some sort of a challenge, he gets pissed off. That is the most dumbass shit ever. Just watch these scenes back to back and tell me this isn't out of character.
You have my respect, Stark. When I'm done, half of humanity will still be alive. I hope they remember you. In all my years of conquest, violence, slaughter, it was never personal. But I'll tell you now, what I'm about to do to your stubborn, annoying little planet, I'm gonna enjoy it very, very much.
Context, context, context.
And people can say, oh, well, that's 2014 Thanos, not 2018 Thanos, so he could change over the past 4 years. Alright, well, first of all, what caused him to change? He gets the Infinity Stones, but why would that change his personality from an easily annoyed villain with anger issues to someone who's calm and collective? Second of all, this guy is like hundreds of years old. Time span of 4 years means nothing to him.
Well, you don't know that. You don't know how old a character is. He could be 22 for all we know. How the hell would you know? I mean, yeah, he obviously is, but you don't know. That's never confirmed. So the only few inferences that we have are those who've read the comics, and also because Thor's character, and the way that Thor was like 1,500 years old, and that could definitely give us for something for Thanos, and it could give us a huge idea. No, you don't necessarily need to have everything handed to you, because I believe that you should be able to infer a lot of stuff. Examples that you can infer a lot of stuff from is the Star Wars prequels. However, it's never confirmed here, but it's nothing to really infer off of except Thor. I just assume he's hundreds of years old, but I don't know how old he actually is. I've never read a Thanos comic in my life.
There's no way 4 years, a minuscule amount of time for Thanos, was enough to completely 360 his personality. I don't care that his realization of the future showed him how half of humanity is still not enough. His main goal is to create a better world for others. Someone who is this selfless and self-sacrificial would not be saying something this selfish, because in Infinity War, the movie is focused on Thanos, but it's not about Thanos. It's about the lives each side is fighting for. The trillions of people in the universe are the reason why Thanos went out on this conquest in the first place. He didn't start this conquest because he wants to be an evil little shit, it's because he wants to help people.
He doesn't want to be an evil little shit in this movie either. He believes he's genuinely doing the right thing, and what he's gonna do and how he's gonna plan to wipe out all the universe is a direct consequence of the Avengers' actions, as he's basically giving the Avengers consequences for their actions of what they did. In Avengers Infinity War, they didn't necessarily mess up his plan that much, as they never really got in his way. Obviously, they did, and they made him struggle, but it's not like he accomplished his destiny only for them to kind of undo it in Avengers Infinity War, so he never had a reason to give them a consequence. However, in this movie, they kind of messed up his destiny by re-snapping their fingers in order to bring everyone back. That messed up his destiny, which caused him to bring big consequences on them.
Both the Avengers and Thanos are fighting for the universe, they just have different ways of going about it.
I guess this isn't a point I'm supposed to respond to, but he is correct because of the fact that Thanos is willing to sacrifice everything in order to get his side to win, such as sacrificing Gamora. However, the Avengers side isn't willing to do that. They are not willing to sacrifice Vision in order to do it. They're not willing to sacrifice anything because they believe that no one should have to die in this situation. That ultimately leads to the downfall, which I think is really interesting.
Endgame is overall a good movie, but I feel like they lacked in the villain department again. I will say I like how they still made him intimidating in this movie. Well, it's more so than Infinity War, but it's kind of the problem because he's a little too ruthless.
I know I sound like a broken video at this point, but this film has to remain consistent with Guardians of the Galaxy, considering the fact that half the film basically takes place during it, or at least most of the time travel stuff does.
Thanos was ruthless in Infinity War, but he had his reasons.
Thanos had his reasons in this movie as well. You're not providing any examples for his ruthlessness, so I can't exactly debunk it beyond this. Unless you're talking about that line that you referenced earlier, well, I already mentioned this earlier in the video.
Honestly, the character traits that really make him stand out are his motivations and mannerisms. Thanos taking pleasure in what he's doing is a complete contradiction and insult to his character in Infinity War.
And done. That is another response video I have down, and I plan to make more of these in the future. Specifically, one to Weasel Batches again on his Invisible Man video, and also I have stuff planned for other people, and I plan to continue that Nerdaholic response series. I also plan to make a response to Mr. Planker related Media's video on the Phantom Menace, and some other stuff. Anyway, that will be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoy. Bye bye.